and it's a community, as you guys know. And
There's a lot of
people
crazies
talk
though, man.
and
Look, there's a lot of crazy people in this community. So it's a lot.
John, what are you going to say to that?
He knows. He's
I'm,
crazy. He's one of them.
I'm crazy myself, and yeah,
He's
no,
one of them.
I do agree.
Welcome to Splintered Spirits. I'm your host, Gary, and along with my nephew, John Santa from Santa Paranormal, we dive into all things paranormal to ask the big question, what are spirits? Our guest today brings a rare combination of journalistic rigor and open-minded curiosity to that question. Kristie Reeter is a longtime News 12 anchor who has covered everything from politics to parenting to consumer trends. But this fall, she stepped into the world of the supernatural as the host of Haunted Tri-State, a new series that takes viewers inside some of the most notorious haunts across New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. You can find the link to News 12 in the link tree in my bio. From historic homesteads to haunted bakeries, Kristie not only explored the stories tied to these places, she also connected with the people who live, work, and carry those legends forward. And along the way, she's had her own encounters, enough that she admits to keeping holy water close by. We're excited to talk with Kristie today about what she discovered on her journey, the people she met, and how a journalist balances reporting facts with facing the unexplained. Let's dive into the conversation. Kristie, how are you? Thanks for being on Splintered Spirits with us.
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you.
Where are you today? Where does this podcast find you?
I am out on Long Island in Bethpage at our newsroom here at News 12. So having a
News 12. Oh, they broadcast. Out. They broadcast out of Long Island. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We have various. We're all on the tri-state. We have newsrooms in Bronx, Brooklyn, New Jersey, Hudson Valley, and I'm at the Long Island location today.
So, Kristie, on Splintered Spirits, I got into this whole thing because of John here, who's a paranormal influencer and creator and documentary, speaks to spirits. And I'm like, what is going on? What the hell is going on? Much like what you're about to do. And we're going to dive into this series of yours. Yeah. But I like to ask all our guests, because I've been on a journey myself of talking to all different people getting a certain perspective of it. So, but I like to ask this question to begin, just to get a baseline for where everyone's coming from. Kristie, what do you think spirits are?
Ooh, what do you think? You get right into it. Into it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I've always thought it's a sort of presence. I think, initially I thought a spirit is like, boo, you see something, I'm picking up a bottle. But the older I get, and then definitely after doing this project, I feel like it can be different things for a lot of people. And especially the people I've met through this project, it can feel really, heavy at times, a spirit, a feeling, maybe a touch, so it means something to different people.
But what does it mean to you?
I guess a spirit, I would say a presence that you just can't explain. That's how I guess that's
so you think it's okay. So you look at it, it's like it is something, there's something there that exudes possibly off of a person once they're gone.
Yeah. Nothing physical,
Okay.
But yeah, a presence.
Okay. I just like to see where people's heads are because we're talking about ghosts. I just kind of want to know where your head is with ghosts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy thing. So,
right?
Listen, as a journalist, you've covered everything, from politics to parenting. I know these are big segments of yours, consumer news. Yeah. So what made you go down this road with Haunted Tri-State? Did a producer make you do it, or did you come up with it? What happened here? How did you get into this?
I've done everything. I love saving money, and now I'm getting into ghost hunting. It was just kind of an idea. We always like to come up with different ideas for different times of the year. Somebody pitched it, and then it kind of what can we get in in this realm, and then our originals team, which is a fabulous team here on in News 12, they started investigating. So one of our producers, Ginny, she actually started looking up different paranormal investigators in the tri-state area, seeing, okay, if we were to do this, who would be open to it? What places could we get into? Because we're going into places, we need access, And so usually it starts with an idea, and then we see how much we can actually do it. And then they're like, okay, who's going to be a part of it? And then they approached me this summer. I think it was in July, and I had a talk with the team, and I was working pretty much in the Bronx and Brooklyn at that time at our News 12 office. And I remember having a chat with them, and I'm like driving across the GW bridge, and we're talking about ghosts, and we started to talk kind of about our own experiences, just because this project was just getting underway. And I'm like, look, I'm game for whatever. And then I kind of got nervous, like, what did I just agree to? So yeah,
Right.
It was kind of an evolving thing. Ideas, a lot of people have a lot of ideas, but then it's like, okay, well, what can we actually do with this? What story can we tell? Can we make it one episode? Can we do multiple? And it went from there.
So, that leads me to my next question for you. As someone who's trained to seek out facts and verify stories, how did you approach these ghost stories and legends that can't be fact checked in a traditional way? How do you do from a journalistic perspective? How did that look like for you?
Yeah, you're like, okay, I had a lot of questions, like, what are we doing? I'm going into the houses, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be stay. And John, you probably know all about this. You're like, yeah, I'm going in, but I'm like, I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was scared, definitely, for our first one. All of them, I was a little bit intimidated, scared going into it. I had a rosary in my pocket. I would even carry it there. I'm like, I don't know, whatever you believe, I'm a little tough, but back to your question, you go into it. It was more so, and how they kind of wanted me to approach it is, I'm just, an average person, also happen to be, a journalist. And I'm going into this, like, explain to me first the history of this place. I want to know all about this, place. Then I want to know about the paranormal groups. We worked with different paranormal groups for each episode. So, explain to me how you got into this. So I ask all those questions. Then we go through, like, the equipment that they have. Show, what does this reader do and why does it go off? So
I guess it was all the same shit, right? I mean, they've got the SB57, they got the phone apps, they've got their EVP thing. I mean, it's all the same stuff, right? For sure.
Yeah, there were the meters that would go off. There was one group that had, and they do the digital seance experience, and they use white noise to kind of, so that was kind of something different that we got to experience. So it was all different types of equipment, even the rods, like the old school.
Oh, the witch sticks,
rods. The
Yeah.
rods. Yeah.
The witch sticks.
The witch sticks.
I was like, what's happening? And then, yeah, it was, each group, I think, had a little, like, twist on their equipment, I would say. So that was interesting. And then one of the episodes, there's a medium who, and I would say this is a tool, who sketches what's coming to him. So, like, sketches it, like pen and paper.
Oh, that's fun.
Right?
Yeah, that's fun.
That's
and
what
good
I
for
liked
TV.
about, yeah, well, yeah, and that's what I liked about the news approach to it. It's like, we want to see, we don't want the same group in the same house and this. Let's go to all these people and try with different groups to see, what's different and, what can be told. So that was all that part of it. And then we actually go to the places, and the places were great. They would, and that's kind of like what the producer, what I had talked about, she had went out and connected with these groups to see, okay, where have you worked before? What would be a good place to do this show? And then they had the relationships out of these places. Most of them, just one, they hadn't been there yet. And then, we would come in. And so it was like, kind of like, here are the keys, have fun tonight. And we would just go off and do our thing, which was wild. I'm like, what? We get the whole, Elks Lodge or this historical society? So, so that was the, so yeah, the news side was kind of like, okay, let's go through the different teams let's explain all the equipment in case a viewer would be like, I don't know what that reader does. So we would explain that. And then the last part of the show is we take all of what we find, what we think we experienced, and we show it to a group of skeptics. And like in a studio, we show them what we find. So, really getting all sides of it. And, it wasn't like they were respectfully challenging what, we experienced. They weren't, because everyone's working together. And but it was neat to hear their take too. And I would kind of be like, but I heard, we'd go back
Yeah.
and forth.
You know,
So I
it's
think that's
interesting.
kind
It's
of, yeah.
debunking is something we avoid debunking. We don't talk about it too much here at all, really. I mean, look, there's 1,000 different, because I know what the answer is to that. It's uninteresting. It's an unfun story, right? To just say no. It's like, I know it. It's like, it could be this, it could be that, it could be the, electrical waves, or it could be this static frequency, or it could be like, there's a glitch in the cloud. There's a whole slew of things that it might be, but the human experience is far more fun, right? And was there a moment for you when you got into this where it really can you point to any specific moment when you first started where it's like, wait a minute, I was as a neutral journalist, and now I'm experiencing something potentially paranormal? What was that? That's the emotion that I'm interested in. Where was that?
The first place we went to, I just walked in. It was the Messier Homestead. That's in Wappingers Falls, in New York. And it was it's like 1700s, the history there. And it just gave a feeling, when you walk in. And I did not want to be anywhere in that house alone. Like, they would say, can you go over there? I'm like, who's coming with? Is somebody coming with me? At one point they blindfolded me and put me in another room. And I was like, I cannot believe I'm agreeing to this.
Yeah, that's
and
weird.
I listened to so I couldn't hear what
she did the Estes method.
She did the Estes method.
Yeah, we know.
Yes.
Yes.
But I was like, a photographer's going to be in here, right? I guess how I feel, like, either way, whatever you believe, I don't want to bring anything home. I've got 2 little girls at home, and so I'm going to be respectful. So I would always be like, tell me what I need to do to make sure they stay here. I don't want it to be that I'm chancing anything. And, so we were always, like I said, I had the rosary in my pocket, whatever they would say. There were a couple encounters, and I think, the first episode that we have where we were at the Messier Homestead, there was like, all of a sudden everyone's feeling something in this corner. And so they're like, well, come over here if you want to. And when I went over there, it was like, it was like static electricity, like on my finger. It was weird. Oh, see? What was that?
Yeah. That was perfect time. We didn't plan that.
We didn't plan that.
That's John's house cat.
So I'm in a haunted building as we speak, and my cat is super sensitive. So she is just constantly seeing things and hearing things. So you're going to hear that quite a bit.
Well, maybe she sensed that I really did sense something.
Well, I like when I respond to what you said about you had a feeling, right? Because I do believe in intuition. I think we all have a fight or flight sense for something, right? It doesn't matter. You've been in a bar and someone walks in, you get a bad vibe, or there's people in a room, whatever that is. And I think it might be heightened for some and not for others. And John, you talk about that feeling you get, which is like being inside, a Jell-O mold when you feel it, like you're vibrant in a weird way.
I don't like sense energy. To me, it's more atmospheric. Like, just as Gary described, you're at a bar and then all of a sudden you get a weird feeling. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, who's this guy that just walked in? Who's this chick that just walked in? Or like, or anything. You could be at the supermarket, picking out your groceries, and all of a sudden you get a weird feeling like, what's going on here? Yeah. It's more of an atmospheric feeling to me. Not like random energies and whatnot. So I can only imagine, being a journalist from that perspective, going into a place that's haunted. And like, as a journalist, you do have intuition. When you think about it, I bet I don't want to speak for you, but it's pretty much it, right? When you're doing your thing, you're going with some gut feelings on certain things, right?
Yeah.
So, I could only imagine what you were like going into a place like this and doing the Estes method. That's just wild. That was like your first soiree into anything paranormal, right?
Yeah, they dove it right in.
Yeah,
they got it right into it.
Right in.
I guess that kind of helped me. It kind of helped me too, because I guess aside from the journals, I'm a scaredy cat. Like, this stuff does freak me out. So, but I like to be a good worker. So when someone's like, this is your assignment, I'm like, okay, if it'll make the shot look good, if we can take the viewer to another place, I will do it.
By the way,
So,
there's nothing weird about being scared about walking into a haunted place at night and then, being blindfolded. If you said to me, I wasn't scared, that's weird, right? Like
right,
that would
right.
be the
Yeah,
weird thing.
yeah, yeah.
So when you walked in, when you saw these places, Kristie, from, whether it's the Miser Homestead or the Boontown Elks Lodge, when you looked at it from the outside, versus once you went in, which location surprised you the most? Like if some of them you look at, you're like, yeah, that place is probably haunted, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But then, what were some of
The one
where'd
that
you get what?
surprised me the most, where I was like, I got the notes for it. It was a bakery out on Long Island in Huntington,
That's
Fiorello.
the
Or
Fiorello,
Fiorello.
Fiorello Dolce Bakery.
I'm like, a bakery? And then I'm like, oh, maybe it's like an old house. No, it's like a strip mall. I'm like, what? What could be wrong, going on here? And that one got intense. I mean, the owner, he's even, put out a book on it. And, just hearing him talk and talking to him multiple times. And then he would tell another story, like after we got an interview, and I'm like, oh my gosh, let's get that on camera. That was pretty, it's a bakery. And this bakery is like, packed. Like people are going in and out as we're waiting to start filming. People are coming, like it's an average, like everyday
So
bakery.
they're not like, they don't claim to be like witches making like love donuts or something. This is like
No.
this is like a real bakery. It just so happens
Yeah.
to be haunted.
Yeah.
And so what did they tell, like, why do they think it's haunted?
Unexplained things happening, knives falling down off of, a rack, buckets coming down from, like a storage place. The creepiest part, I almost want to save this, but it'll be a little tease, was when he was telling us a story about how they walked into the bakery one day, and it was early morning. They got to make all the, pastries for the day, and the music was blaring, and they're like, who left it on? Well, okay, yeah, somebody maybe left it on, whatever. Well, he has all these cameras set up because so much has happened. So they review the footage, and you see it's just like the bakery is closed, no one's there, lights are off, and then all of a sudden the iPad that's on the counter just like lights up. Okay, maybe technology. And then it's like you see like the code going in. Then all of a sudden music just starts playing and you can hear it. And it's switching the songs, like Dancing Queen, going through.
Are we going to get to see this on the episode?
I don't know.
Because I'm, all right.
And that was
We'll definitely check it out.
Told me. So and that one in particular too, several different mediums have gone into that bakery and they experienced like different things. They had been there before. We had come there that night. So he's had several different people come through, the owner of that bakery. And they would all come up with the same name of someone that maybe died or something in the back alley of this bakery. So it's like different people coming in. And then when we came in, that was the one time we came with a crew that had not been at the location. And then they started hearing the same name that the owner had heard in the other thing, seances, I guess you could say. So that was.
What do we think? Is this like a mob run bakery once? Is that what we think is going on?
No.
Is this where they used to start?
I think it's been a couple different things. He's had it for a while. It's it was that was the most unexpected. I was like, a bakery, and it's small, it's just, like your standard, like the front area, maybe like a couple tables, and then the back is, the bakery. And of course the team's like, get in that alley, Kristie.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Kristie, did you find a difference when you were investigating, when you started to do the research into these places, between for the people, like talking to whether it was the historian versus the owner or any of the everyday locals, and how they each viewed a location? Did everybody look at it? Did you sort of say like, okay, in order to decipher your own opinion or make your own opinion, what was that like, that human experience of these places as you were investigating it? And who's carried the most weight for you?
That's tough. It was it it was a great like variety of people that we had. It was funny how open a lot of these places were to like come on in. You know what I mean? Like a historical society in New Jersey or in Connecticut. They were like the Tuttle House. We went there. And yeah, it was like one of those things like, oh, have fun. And they kind of looked at it like, this is good for, like, hey, talk about this place having ghosts. And then while you're in town, go to our downtown and eat at the restaurants. Like they looked at it more as a tourism thing. So, different community members stopped by before we filmed. The woman that came with us for that, the paranormal expert, that was Rose. And she is Connecticut Spirit Investigators. She's a part of that, but she worked at and still does exorcisms and worked, with the Catholic Church in doing so. And that place, when you were talking to her, like when I was doing the interview,
That place, is this the Tuttle House?
this is the Tuttle House. Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't like she was, like, oh, and then they were, spinning around or, she was very serious about her work. Like not, like, oh, well, exorcisms, what are those like? She was very serious about it and not just saying anything because I think it's so real, to her.
Right.
And before we went in that one, she blessed us all with holy water and we said a prayer and I think some holy oil too. I'm like, I'll put it all. Give me everything. What are we getting into?
Jesus, crystal, salt, and sage.
That's it. Jesus, crystal, salt, and sage.
So I was like, what are we? But so yeah, she and what she was doing was we weren't doing an exorcism there. This is kind of like the fun thing she does on the side because her work is so heavy, she said.
Sure.
That every once in a while they're like, where are some fun spirits to go to? Right. So that was, I'm like, first I'm like, oh my goodness, is this like, no, this is a fun house. Like,
Got it. Yeah, it's always fun. Well, yeah, so that apparently she comes at it from a very religious, almost, evil, demonic sort of presence, like that's an interesting way to look at all these places. But it's funny, no one ever said, don't go in there, Kristie, you're never going to make it out again. Like that's right. That's a downside of it.
There would be a few places where one of the people on the team would say, this is too heavy. Like I can't go in that back corner. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going there. There were a few places. The one place I went up to that they were like, like a lot of people didn't like going up to was like a lofted area in this gymnasium inside the Elks Lodge,
Did someone tell you something that gave you chills?
Yeah, when we went up there, well, we were doing one of those, the process in the night. And I'm trying to be an observer, but it's a long night, a lot of filming. And, you're kind of, as a journalist, asking questions and asking questions to ghosts. I guess that's the first time I've ever done that.
Right.
And they, you would say, we were asking questions like, okay, you want us to go back or, what's in the back of the place? And then, it was like, turn around. Like everything was basically correlating with the words we were seeing to like turn around. Like, you want us to go up to this area? And then all of a sudden it's like, essentially, yeah, we do. And then we walked up to this area where there had been different strange occurrences happen. And I could have sworn I heard like a humming, like a choir. I thought, well, surely there is because when I drove out to Boonton, I was like, there's a highway. That's got to be that. And then they're like, no, the highway is like further into town. And sure enough, when I was driving home, I'm like, oh, it is, So I was like,
Oh, that's wild. Did you ever feel anybody you were talking to was like holding back, like keeping secrets or something they didn't want to tell you?
Not holding back, but I feel like, Rose has such, she's dealt with people, that, she's the woman who does exorcisms. I feel like she's, how she's done a lot of, she explained people come to her, when they're at their worst. And so I think she's very private in some of their experiences. So, but you know, as a journalist too, I feel like that kind of makes it more, you know, believable when you're like, oh wow, you're not just saying, oh, this and that happened, um, she really took to her work and what she does and the respect she has for, the clients.
What about your crew? Did they experience anything? I've seen things where crew members are like, they don't come back. They've quit. They're not into it. Did they experience anything?
Yes, our photographer, yeah, almost all our crew did. Our photographer, one of our photographers, he definitely like every location. And it was weird. It was like, the boxes, it would say like, the Phasma boxes, it would be like Chris, weird, like why him, and he's like, I'm getting freaked out. And then a few times like Ginny would have like, she would just get really like, she was one of the producers who kind of scouted all this out. She would get like a feeling of just like not feeling good, like almost, just ill. And then
we've heard that before.
Yeah. And as soon as we would leave the area, she's fine, and so that was odd, and, I work with these people every day. So it's like, it's weird.
So do you feel after visiting all these spots, these 4 spots, do you feel paranormal is more about the place or the people who are carrying these stories and legends forward?
That's a good question. The people or the places? I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of it is what you're open to. That can kind of change your experience, if you're quiet and listening and, respectful and, what I liked about, the show, and I think there's something for everyone is, like there's a lot of history. So, in a lot of towns you hear, oh, that place is haunted. So it's like, okay, well, why do people think it is? And then let's go in. So I think it's kind of, I guess looking into a hot topic in town of what everyone, is talking about, and then kind of letting people make their own, that's the whole show is we want people to try to figure out what they think at the end of it. And we try to give all sides. We're not trying to push, okay, ghosts here or there, or that's what you think. So.
And is that, so what?
So did this change your perspective from when, you started this to, after you filmed everything and you experienced everything? Did your perspective change with the paranormal?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think that I didn't know there was all these different ways that the groups go about communicating. There's a lot of time that goes into it. It's not just like you go into a house and it's like, what was that? It's like a lot of waiting and sitting around and piecing together things. Like some of these groups, they've been to a place multiple times and then they would be like, oh, wait, we got this from the last session. So I definitely think it's something that you're open to. I think the whole process too made me a little less scared in the sense that sometimes people find comfort in this, if you're trying to communicate with a loved one or, and I never really kind of looked at it that way. I mean, I guess, I thought it popped in my mind, but, talking to some of the people and the work they've done outside these places, especially that sketch artist, like sometimes a vision would come to him and he'd turn it around and it'd be like, that's my grandma, or, so that's kind of, I think people find comfort. I think the biggest thing was realizing how this can mean so many different things to so many different people. You know what I mean? Like I could take from it. Yeah. Like you could have a different feeling and experience than I do. And maybe that's because, you believe more and maybe I don't as much, or maybe you're more open and I'm not, so I think that's, and it's a community, as you guys know. There's a lot
of crazies though, man. Look, there's a lot of crazy people in this community. So it's
John, what are you going to say to that?
He knows. He's crazy. He's one of them.
I'm crazy myself, and yeah,
he's one of them.
I do agree. It could get, but well, what you're saying about like the perspective and how like different things mean, different things. Like I'll give you an example. Last night, I was here in the tower due to the wind and weather, and a spirit came through. I think I can't remember what they said their name was. They said, my name is this, and they're coming through. And then the spirit said, I'm going to protect you to me. So I turned around and I'm like, I don't need your protection. Who are you? I've never heard of you before. And then I asked my audience. I had 500 people watching me, and I said, "Hey guys, do you think this spirit is here to protect me? Or do you think it's a spirit that, is a random spirit either trying to attach to me or something, right? So do you believe wholeheartedly that the spirit is here to protect me?" And everybody had mixed, answers because as you said, everybody feels differently about this,
Mhm.
that, and the other. And then like clockwork, 5 seconds later, it said, "This spirit is not to be trusted. This spirit isn't who they claim to be." And I just, and it's like that,
And
there it
John
goes.
uses the apps, Kristie. You've seen some of these apps now,
Yeah.
so he uses he has a few go-to that he used. This is where when he says they
Mhm.
came through, this is
Yeah.
what he's literally hearing it. And John is primarily he's all a live influencer. So everything he's doing is live. So the
Mhm.
audience hears it as he's doing it, and you've seen how they
Yeah.
work. So it's coming through when it comes
Yeah.
through. Um,
I know the equipment now.
Now Now you're in it.
Wow.
Now you're in the tribe, as they say, with this ghost stuff.
Right,
Um,
right.
what would you ever do it again? Would you ever go
Oh
back
yeah.
out there? Where would you want
You
to go?
know,
Now that now that you've seen it, where do you want to go?
Ooh. Um, so many people have like if when they hear about the project, oh my goodness, what did you see? Can we look at your files and all of that? Like, people that we work with and people in the community, like, it's interesting because like it's all of a sudden something that people will talk about. They like it's, so like they want to give your opinion, they'll tell you stories. There'll be a driver being like, yeah, I saw a chair just move across the room. I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's like wild. Like people feel really open about talking about it, which is kind of interesting because it is kind of a deep topic. But a lot of people, they're so fascinated by it. So I would definitely do it again. As far as places, I feel like I have a list going already because we would go to, we had the set places and then people are like, you know what you should go to? And, it's a
Right.
road that, all the kids would go to when we were younger.
You're talking about
Different.
Yeah,
Buckout. You're talking
Buckout
about
Road
Buckout.
in
Right when
White
you said
Plains.
that, Westchester, that's Buckout.
Yeah,
The road that everyone would go to. That's one of I document Buckout.
Okay. So,
John's live from Buckout all the time. You got the Merchant House in New York City, and there's a great investigator, Dan Sturgis, who's been studying that place for like 18 years,
mhm.
who who would tell you the ins and outs of that haunted facility. I mean, there's so many great places, right? What is it? The Algonquin Hotel. It's another great.
Yo, the Algonquin
Uh,
Hotel in the
So,
city is great.
so are
yeah.
these suggestions you guys have for us? Maybe I should ask you.
No,
Yeah,
these are
hey,
some
listen,
places. I
Where
mean,
should
these
we
are like
go?
anytime. Yeah,
I've
yeah,
got
for
a
sure.
list of places here in Westchester that are definitely haunted.
Yeah, there's a lot. John spends a lot of time in cemeteries as well. If you've ever seen his live, he goes and cleans headstones and talks to spirits while he does it. That's kind of the big, that's his thing. The very old
Yeah.
graves that are, those
Yeah.
sections of the cemetery that out
Oh
here, they're
yeah, where you
very old,
scrape the
right?
moss off and yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
very respectful too. That's the
No,
biggest
yeah,
thing too. Like I wanted to be respectful throughout all this. I'm not,
Yes.
it's like because like I said, whatever I don't want to think it's all fake and then all of a sudden something comes
So,
home and my 2-year-old's
well, yeah. So
Kristie,
what do you tell? Oh, go ahead, John.
it's interesting because you said you had the rosary in your pocket and this, that, and the other, and you're trying to protect yourself. So one big thing that I'm about, because I'm an atheist, right? I have nothing to pray to.
mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm about dominance, but being respectful at the same time. You have to be very respectful, but you also have to be dominant. And that's how I go about protecting myself in these situations. But respect is a big, big, big part of it.
Yeah.
John uses a lot. He talks about intent a lot. Like
Intent.
you cannot, break this barrier or whatever my intent
Mm-hmm.
is. some
Do
people
not
use the
come home with
rosaries.
me. Like, stay
That's
there.
it. That's
Don't come
it.
We
What
did.
do you,
I think.
what do your kids? What do you tell your kids you're doing this month when you were filming this stuff? Like when they say, "How was work?" Do you
Well,
tell them, or is it?
yeah, no, I did. I
Are you going to
would.
show them the segments?
I don't know. You know what? That's a good question. I have not decided yet. They've seen some of the commercials and they're like, "Oh, mom, oh my 7-year-old, she drew a picture and it was of me like hunting ghosts."
Oh, that's good.
That's adorable.
Both your kids are little. You have
Yeah,
little
7 and
kids.
a soon to be 3-year-old. And
Oh my God. Yeah.
they I had to be careful because a few times they would hear me talking about it, over the phone or to my husband, and then like, "Mom, I'm afraid. Can you move this off the table? Because in the middle of the night, if I see that." So I was like, "No." So I've been better. So you know what? I think I just I don't know. But I guess I want the viewers. Maybe I will have them watch.
Right. Exactly. Kristie, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. What do you want? Just to close it, what do you hope viewers take away from the Haunted Tri-State? When they watch these, it's everywhere. Tell us when it is, where they can find it, and we'll certainly post the link to your YouTube channel in our link tree in our bio and on this when we drop it. But where can they find it? When is it going to air? And what do you want viewers to walk away from? Hopefully.
Yeah, so you can watch it every Wednesday at 9:30 through the month of October on News 12. So throughout the tri-state, if you have News 12, turn it on. You can watch it there. Then you can also watch it streaming on News 12 New York. And then, like you said, YouTube as well. So 9:30, new episode every Wednesday. There'll be re-airs too. So if you don't, if you miss it, don't worry. I think viewers just need to be open to it. This is just something to kind of explore. We hear all these things in our community, so why not have why don't we look into it? Let's go into these places. And there's a lot of history. You learn a lot about the craft, which John, you know about, and how the tools work. So it just kind of comes from a place of kind of just informing you. And then, the other side, we got the skeptics coming in, and then we just kind of let you decide what you think out of after watching it.
And then you got the people who are saying you're messing with the forces of nature, and sort of like you're doing the devil's work. We get a lot of those, which is great. It's always great fun. Kristie, look, thank you so much. I hope this was fun. I hope you had a good time with us here today.
Yes, thank you.
I can't thank you enough. I'm glad we were able to get this going with you, and I'm looking forward to watching the entire series. I think it'll be great. Yeah. We'll check it out.
Who knows? Maybe next year you'll be with us.
Oh, that'd be great.
On one of these.
I'm not going. You can now. You can go. You can take him. You go with him. I'll stay back here and I'll watch from my office, which is fine. Well, that's it for another episode of Splintered Spirits. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, stay curious.